Hello, I am Bentham. Welcome back to Factorio Railworld. We are once again in the midpoint base. In the last episode we were working on a bunch of production, and today we're going to carry on with that. We're going to try and get most of the megatrain either being loaded or unloaded in this base. We're going to make this a proper full-scale operation for the megatrain. I've made my decision now. Everything that the train has will either be made here or used to make other things here, pretty much. So the first thing that happens today is I noticed there's been some sort of issue, and I realised I actually made a mistake with the way I set up the rails. I've broken my own rule, and I've got two blocks which they have signals in them, but there's no sort of passing point potential there. I've messed it up basically. I didn't think about it, and I didn't really twig that the loop was just one whole block, and so if you had that leading into a line, it wouldn't work. So what I'm doing is setting up a passing point so that a train that wants to go into the loop can wait for another train to get out of the way instead of them both just ending up stuck up against each other. And I decided that, seeing as it's right by the main area, I'm just going to have it extend all the way to the first corner to make it look nicer and to give to give plenty of room for things like the mega train itself to maneuver around each other. So we'll leave that as it is, and hopefully that should all run a lot better now. And I go over and check on the iron outpost that we have nearby, see what the situation is. It looks like the lines are pretty good. I thought I might need to add in some new mining drills, but it looks like it's all running fine. A lot of the mining drills are actually not running at all because the system's all nice and built up, so we'll just leave that. We'll not do any messing about with that at the moment, but what we will do over here is add in some defences. At the moment we don't have anything there, so we're going to put in some new guns. We've got some normal guns, and I'm going to put in 8 of these so that I can put 25 ammo in each one, and use up all of the ammo that I have available, and then I'll get resupplied on it when I get back to the main midpoint area. And then in between them we'll also set up a bunch of laser turrets, so that we've got 2 different forms of defence, and then of course we'll connect it up to the power system to make sure the laser turrets can function. We're not quite done in terms of the defensive systems here, as you can probably see, because the wall just sort of stops. But at some point in the future I'm going to finish putting that in and get the area being properly fully defended. So far we haven't had any biter attacks, which is a very good sign. And I don't think we'll have any of those until the biters have recolonized the area to the west of the base. We've cleared it out enough there to not have a worry. Anyway, we're now going to put in some radars. I put one in the lower right, and I'm going to put one in the lower left, which basically the most lower left area of the midpoint base I can reach is actually on a different island. So I plonk it there, and I managed to get the power to it easily enough. But it almost connects up with that one radar that I have out in the spur going into the middle of the lake. It doesn't quite fit though, unfortunately. We'll have to see about doing something about that later. Now we put one more in the middle of the base to get complete coverage. We're pretty good there. And I also go check on the map the situation with the Megacopper base. We still need some more radar coverage there, but also something I spot is that the issue that I've got with that I've discovered with the rail network is actually present at the other side as well, which is more of a problem because with all of the mining drills in the way and the copper ore, I can't set up the same system on the other side without blocking some of the ore or whatever. But I do have to set it up on the other side, or else we'll end up with the same congestion issues on the other end, and everything will just block up and I'll never see any trains again. I'll have to go down there myself and see about sorting it out. As far as I know, that doesn't happen by the end of this episode. We may have to keep an eye on that, because at some point the trains will probably just stop turning up. Well, there's one now, so we've not got the problem yet. It requires 2 trains to be in the exact right places at the right time for it to go wrong. So it shouldn't be too likely, but it did happen on this end. Anyway, at the moment what I'm doing is looking at the mega train, also at the production area, and making some decisions about what's going to be made and what's not. So at the moment we're looking at the ammo, seeing what ammo we can produce and what we can't, and what. Well, it all sorts of depends really, because there's various things that we can make with all of the iron and the copper that we have, but we can also make stuff using the batteries that we can get from the train, and also the plastic and the sulfur. So it's all about making decisions about whether or not to make use of the plastic and the sulfur to make something, or whether I should just leave it up to the main base to keep the megatrain supplied with that. But anyway, I've made a decision about the intermediate product carriage that we have here, and we're going to have 3 new provided chest set up, one for electric engines, and then one for advanced circuits and one for processing units. I've decided that I'm not going to make those at this end because I can't be bothered. One of them we could do the advanced circuits because it only needs plastic, but I've decided not to bother with it. It's a little bit of a fiddly system, and we'll probably be alright without it. There is plenty in the train handy to be used for other things, and there aren't that many things around that we want to use a large number of advanced circuits for. We're not going to have modules production on this end, so that was sort of one of the main uses of advanced circuits, so that's fine. Anyway, there is some production we are going to set up, and it's going to be of vehicles, and I've decided to do this in a little bit of a different way than usual. Instead of using the main conveyor belt thing, I'm actually going to use logistics for this. I'm being very sort of logistically minded in this base, just because it's something I've not really focused on much in the past, and I've sort of neglected it really. So today I'm going to set up a system that I've seen in other bases. I don't know how good it is. It seems it's pretty compact, so that's something it's got going for it. And basically, it makes each individual assembler actually its own independent thing, and its position is irrelevant because it's entirely supplied and supplies using the logistics system. So each assembler has connected up to it a requested chest and a provided chest. The requested chest requests various materials. Those are inserted into the assembler, those are crafted into the thing that it's been given the job for, and it unloads into a provided chest, and then it can go from there to wherever it wants. So as long as you have logistics covering all of the items it needs and itself, it works, and you can put them wherever you want. And I think generally a good idea is to put them in a big array, particularly if there's one that depends on another, so that the items can be quickly delivered between the two, and so on. So we're just setting up a little array of them here, and we'll expand it as we see fit whenever there's something a little fiddly or something that I just can't be bothered setting up on the main line. We're going to put it on here just to see how that goes. So what I've got is trains, cargo wagons, tanks and cars being produced on the top line, and on the bottom line so far we have the two kinds of turrets, and they're all being supplied by everything they need. It's either being made in the main base, in the midpoint base, or it's being offloaded from the train so that it can be taken up by the bots and delivered over. So now that we've got those all being produced, we can set up the requested chests for the megatrain and have them running into it. So we'll sort out all of that, trying to get a nice pattern to it. Unfortunately, all of the items in it sort of exist in pairs, which is annoying because I want to have them categorized, but we've ended up with one kind of turret on either side to keep it symmetrical. Sometimes different OCDs conflict and cause all sorts of problems. I mean, I'm not going to say that I've got OCD, but it's just, I think it's to a small degree everyone has it in some way or another and likes things to look neat in a certain way. But anyway, we've got that done, and we're going to carry on working on the next thing. The next cargo wagon I looked at is the one with destroyer capsules in it, and various other kinds of capsules and grenades as well. And what I've decided to do is I'm actually going to assemble destroyer drones in the midpoint base. I don't know whether this is really a good idea. There's not going to be many made because it's quite a slow process, and also the materials needed are not the most readily available here. But I've decided to give it a shot, just have a little bit being made, so that should we need to, we can come back and grab some. So I'm setting up the system. We've had a power failure. We'll get back to that momentarily then. So it turns out that while I've been messing about with everything, I've been adding in more and more things that use up power and not dealing with it. So finally the power system has given up, and the accumulators have cut out before the sun even starts to rise. So we're going to have to put in a bunch more accumulators and solar panels. And the way I decided to do this is logistics. What I do is make a blueprint for my little 8 solar panel grids that I have, and I just start plonking down blueprint marker things, or whatever you'd call them, to get the bots to sort them out. So the only thing is that the bots do not actually supply any of the materials it's requesting. At the moment there's none of those in provided chests, so I quickly set up a system that unloads solar panels from the megatrain. I could craft them in the main base, and I will do later, but for now we'll just take them from the megatrain, so that they're all provided before the blueprints run out. And we'll also set one up for accumulators, which will be simple enough. Set up a smart inserter, have that loading in, and I've made sure to have strict limits on the chest so we don't go crazy. I mean, we could unload the whole amount and it would be fine. But what we also do is add in a bunch of random well, all of the different kinds of electric poles. I just plonk them into a provider chest for now, and then later on I'll actually set up the production for them so that in future these blueprints can be basically dealt with in a fully automatic sense. So I've also made a blueprint for the accumulus square that I use, and I've plonked one down. There it goes, being assembled. It is quite cool to watch the bots all flying in and plonking them down in an annoyingly random order, so that sometimes you might have the substation only assemble at the very last minute, so only then does it actually start working. But anyway, we'll check up on the power system. It's looking a lot better, but we'll have to see how it is working over the next couple of day-night cycles to make sure that it's all working well now. It is difficult to say though, because I think particularly with this base, a lot of stuff is there's a lot of sort of fluctuation in power usage, because certain things will be on running like crazy sometimes and then not running at all other times. But anyway, we're sorting out our production of destroyer drones here, and this is sort of a hybrid between the fully logistics setup and a little bit of feeding between assemblers. So we just had one of the basic defender capsules feeding into distractors, feeding into destroyers, with a couple of requester chests in between to deliver the various things. And we just set up a provider chest here for speed modules, because that's what you need to make the final destroyer drone. That does cause a bit of a problem, really, because we only have one square of one cargo wagon dedicated to that in the megatrain. But then it is enough, I think, for 50 destroyer drones, unless you use like 5 to make one. I forget what it is. I probably should have checked that, but yeah, we can still make a few, and whenever the megatrain does come back from the main base, it'll be able to resupply that and get a couple of destroyer drones out of the deal. So that's not terrible, and there's not much else we're using the speed modules for. The only other thing that you make with them really is assemblers, the level 3 assemblers, and I think I've got enough of those, so we're fine. That's hence the only real purpose that I have for them on this end of things is to make the destroyer drones. Anyway, now I'm going to do some belts. I've decided I'm going to set up belt production on this end, just of the basic ones. We probably won't ever need them. I think I'm using blue belts for literally everything in this space, but I thought I'd set it up. I sort of get carried away a bit with my production, because it is quite fun to set all this up. Though with this one, I'm not actually using the logistics system. I decided to have this on the main line. It's a little bit fiddly. I keep moving the assemblers up and down, trying to work out where I can put them, because usually I would have this all in a what do you call it, in a main bus system, but this is a little bit different, so I'm having to sort of come up with a more creative design, and that's a good way to do things. If you set up a system that's new and different, you sort of force yourself to be more creative in the way you set things up. Though I am finding that my solutions are starting to become a little bit samey. There's this sort of theme of embedding some assemblers in the line and not embedding others. Maybe I should go for some like even less standardized system in future, just to keep me on my toes. But anyway, there we go. It's all going into provider chests and so on, with I think 2 stacks of space for each one. I don't even know what it is. It doesn't really matter. But we'll go down to the megatrain and sort out the chest feeding into that. While I'm here, I'll also sort out the delivery of the destroyer drones. There's not many coming through. I think the last time that I checked in this episode, there's only 4 been made, but that's still something. And at the moment, there's nothing else supplying the megatrain until it gets back home. It'll be interesting to see how many destroyer drones have been made now, because I doubt it's the 15 stacks that we need to fill up the train. But some good progress may well have been made. Anyway, over at the carriage with all of the belt stuff in. First of all, I set up some provider chests that take out the blue belts, because of course we want plenty of those handy, even if the megatrain's not around. And of course, the more stuff we get unloading from this, the less we have to rely on the megatrain actually being present, which means that at some point in future we could send the megatrain back on its own for like 300 seconds either way, or 200 or whatever it is now, and just survive off what's in all the provided chests until it gets back. I mean, you could always just wait, it's only a few minutes, or even go with it and see how the main base is doing. But one thing I'm sort of imagining happening with this system is that the megatrain does hop between the main base and the midpoint base every now and then, not very often, because the passing point system isn't built for it. We'd probably have all sorts of problems. In fact, thinking about that, I would probably have to go with the train to make sure that it got back safely, because otherwise I think it'd just clog up the system horribly. But anyway, back in the main base, checking up on things, also checking up on the megatrain, making some decisions about what to do next. I'm thinking about doing some more logistics, adding to the logistics array. I'm also looking at the supplies of materials coming in from the other trains. And I've also noticed a problem with iron. The supply is not looking very good, and indeed it's getting worse. Also, it's not balanced, which is annoying, but I don't think I actually fixed that in the end. But what I do decide to do is add in a bunch more furnaces, because at the moment the factory's still not running particularly fast. It could run quicker. I think there's a lot of systems that have already filled up and aren't doing anything. And really we want to give this, you know, enough capacity to run as quick as we might need to. There might be some urgent situation where we need to resupply quickly or something. It probably won't happen, but it's good to have the capacity. So what I do is double up the iron miners. The iron furnaces, the same way that I've done with steel. We probably need to add in some new miners as well, just to, like, because I think if iron and steel both ran at full speed now, it would probably be too much for the miners. But for now, I've left it, and it'll be fine for our needs at the moment. There's nothing particularly urgent anyway. So I hook up the new section. I've got all the efficiency modules in it and stuff. We are running a little bit low now, so we will have to look at making our way back home at some point soon if we want to make a lot more things that would use level 2 efficiency modules. But anyway, we can watch all the ore coming in. It's coming in, not the ore, the plates coming in. It's coming in nice waves of iron. But if I check up on the line, I find that it's running a little bit thin, and also I realised that I've not balanced the belts as much as I thought I had. So I've got a lot more going on to the top half than the bottom half. And I decided I want to fix that. It's not really that urgent because all the mining drills were running, and after changing it and having it all just merge normally, all the mining drills are still running, so it didn't make much difference, but I felt better for it. And we'll make our way back over to the main midpoint area. And I find that the ore is now not... it's not getting to all of the furnaces, but the iron has built up. So once all the furnaces have filled out with their stacks of 100 iron, things should improve there. Anyway, we'll now add on to the logistics array that we've got going on. And I'm not sure if this is really the best way to do it. I think in terms of power, it's definitely not the most efficient because the bots use up a lot of power transporting bits and bobs around. But it is a lot neater, and you can compress it a lot more. And I am getting slightly worried about how far along this line is getting towards the area where the accumulators are. But anyway, what I'm working on setting up now is the production of the 4 kinds of power poles. And the first thing I think is to have the same system that I've got back in the main base here right now, and also I had in No Crafting Challenge, where I had this line of 4 assemblers that did all like copper wire and wood and things like that. In the end, I decided that I'll just let the logistics system deal with that. So what we do is we have some copper wire being siphoned off of one of the assemblers over in the circuit array to make the basic power poles, and then we also have a logistics an assembler over here that makes the processed wood, I guess you call it, the wood planks or whatever, out of the raw wood, and they'll both go into one of these to make the basic power poles. And then the other ones are all nice and simple. They just use copper and steel, and substations use copper, steel, and also advanced circuits. So that's easy enough to deal with. We've got advanced circuits being taken out of the megatrain and put into a provided chest further down. But anyway, as we work on this, looking back at it, I've realised that there are actually 2 assemblers that I've forgotten about. And I'm just grabbing all of the power poles there from the temporary chest that I set up, and then I start sorting out my inventory so that I have exactly half a stack of each kind of power pole, which seems like a good number to have. But anyway, while I do that, you can see that there are 2 assemblers that aren't running right now. I've not given them any jobs, and I actually don't realise that they're there. And I carry on building new assemblers to make more stuff when there's 2 that aren't even being used over there. Anyway, over at the megatrain, there's this particular cargo wagon that has so many different things involved in it that I've realised I need a different loading system if I want to have it all loading in. And so what I do is make use of a design that I've seen, I think, on the forums, and has also been suggested to me, I think, by subscribers or commenters or whatever. And as you can see, what it does is use 2 rows of requested chests, and thanks to long-armed inserters, you can fit that in, so we can actually load twice as many different things into the train from one side than before. So we've now got 12 different requested chests there ready to load various different things. For unloading, you still have to use 1 row because it uses smart inserters, though I'm not sure if there's something you can do with smart chests or something. I've never quite understood it, but you might be able to use long-armed ones for that. I'll have to look into that at some point. in the future. But anyway, what we do is set up production of solar panels and accumulators, though for a moment that one is substations before I realise I selected the wrong one. Set up all the supplies for that, nice and simple, and then we'll go and deconstruct the solar panel and accumulator chests that we had coming off the megatrain. And then we'll move it over to the other side where we have the requested chests, get those providing the two things, and we're done for the day. So after that productive day, I shall say goodbye. Thank you for watching, and I shall see you next time.